Hey, what's up everyone, DREAGEN back again, here to tell you that you should be watching Terror of Mechagodzilla. So the Terror of Mechagodzilla is a 1975 kaiju film that marked the end of the Showa era of Godzilla films. Essentially that basically means the run of Godzilla movies from 1954 to 1975, after the unfortunate kind of decline in popularity with these films before they were kind of reignited again in 1984 with the return of Godzilla. But this film is the second film to feature Godzilla's, one of his more famous on-screen foes, Mechagodzilla. The first entry being the previous film, which was Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla. But I'm focusing on this film rather than that one because unlike the other one, which was a damn good versus movie. It's a great Godzilla fight. It's a classic movie. In addition, also introduces the character King Caesar, who pretty much gets his ass kicked by Mechagodzilla, but I digress. This film deals a lot with, curiously enough, what we would do for love, how far we would go for love, and that in this film you learn that Mechagodzilla is in fact a type of cyborg who is, in a weird way, linked to the scientist's daughter, who his daughter died, and he is trying to, with the help of the aliens who created Mechagodzilla in the first film, or the film previous, are basically trying to use him to use Mechagodzilla to fight Godzilla. In addition to that, he is trying to utilize this technology to bring his daughter back, and he's doing so using cybernetics, and essentially he is becoming so obsessed with getting his girl back, his little girl back, even though she's an adult woman, that he loses sight of kind of the lengths in which he's actually going to do so, to the point where you see her at the end and you realize that she is just more machine than girl, and you realize that somewhere along the way his need, or his pursuit to bring back his daughter led him astray, and he wasn't able to kind of stand back and see the big picture and realize that he didn't bring back his daughter so much as he just kind of bastardized the memory of her, and then to find out that she was used to basically be the brain, if you will, or the kind of the backbone of Mechagodzilla. So now his once beautiful daughter is essentially now the brain, or the heart, or the heartbeat of this mechanized monster that is just built to kill, built to destroy, and turning his daughter into a monster, turning her legacy into something monstrous. And just as Mechagodzilla is kind of a perverse take on Godzilla himself, this iteration of his daughter that's walking around, this automaton, is essentially now a perversion of his real daughter. His real daughter is gone. This thing is essentially just, again, a shell of what she was, and that is the true tragedy, is that this man has lost everything. He was a father that was just trying to bring back, the most precious thing in the world to him, and that, any parent will tell you that the most important thing in life is their children, and there is no limit to what they would do for their children. And if you lost your child, and then someone said there was a way to bring them back, would you even question how that would work? Would you even ask yourself, or do the ends justify the means, or would you just do it? And a lot of us, like I said, we would be responsible, and that we would do the right thing and realize that, well, sure, I would like to have my child back, but to make that happen, the things I would have to do just aren't right or ethical. But the reality is, when you are confronted with that kind of heartbreak, with that kind of emotional loss, when to be given that opportunity, realistically, a lot of us probably would just take that opportunity, and we wouldn't even ask questions. We just wouldn't care, because at the end of the day, we can be damned, but as long as they're back, that is the responsibility of every parent, is to protect your child. So if something happens to their child, there's an untimely demise, then you as a parent feel like you have failed, and now it is your responsibility to do whatever. And for most parents, it would just be to grieve. That's all you can do. But if somehow, some way, you could do something, regardless of what that something was, you feel as a parent it is your responsibility, your duty, to do it no matter the cost. And that is kind of the emotional journey this man takes, unfortunately, leading him into places in which he becomes irredeemable, and thus essentially being the villain of the story, more of the tragic villain of the story. The aliens in this film are more the mustache twirling variety, but he himself is, unfortunately made a deal with the devil essentially, and in doing so sacrificed truly what he loved, because at the end of the day, while his daughter might have been gone, he still had her legacy, and what he ultimately succeeded in doing was kind of violating that. So he essentially destroyed his daughter on every level. He destroyed her memory. So it is a very kind of melodramatic story. It's a great character drama, and on top of that, it's got a lot of great kaiju action. This is a Godzilla film after all. This thing also introduces a kaiju named Titanosaurus, who we've only seen in this movie. It's one of my favorite kaiju, and it's one that I've always hoped would make a comeback, and who knows, still might. Really, really cool design, big aquatic dinosaur. Was Toho's wanting to kind of go back to a more classic kaiju idea of just kind of big reptilian prehistoric creature, which came out really, really well. An amazing fight scene between Godzilla and Titanosaurus, as well as Mechagodzilla, and probably one of the coolest intros to Godzilla ever. Godzilla pretty much shows up in the last third of the movie, really at the end, but has a kind of a cool Clint Eastwood introduction, and has one of the best fight scenes of any Godzilla movie, in my personal opinion. Unfortunately, like I said, this was the last one for about 9 years due to the fact that the popularity of these films are kind of dwindling. They had been going since 1954, and just the box office it wasn't there. People weren't turning up. So Toho decided to just, it might not have been a financial high note, but in terms of just cinema and artistic quality, it most certainly was. So they decided to just kind of retire Godzilla for a little bit, kind of let him go off into the sunset, as it were, and let nostalgia take hold. So eventually one day, people would be kind of hungry for him again in these kinds of movies, and it worked. And Toho has done this a couple times since then, and usually success. But yeah, so Terror of Mechagodzilla. It is, despite again poor box office. By the way, if I sound kind of stuffy, it's because I'm getting over being sick, so I apologize. But it is gone down to history as being one of the better Godzilla films. Very well made film. Just top notch, great special effects. The score is wonderful, and again, it is a great human drama, especially coming off the heels of a lot of the more campy Godzilla films, which are kind of towards the end of the show era. They were a lot more kind of tongue-in-cheek and weird and funny and odd. So this was kind of a nice way to kind of bring it back. It wasn't back to the same level of severity of like 54 or even Godzilla Reigns Again, but it brought back a lot of the more adult kind of themes a bit more. It felt like it was a film that was meant for an older audience, whereas the previous few felt they were definitely catering to a much younger audience, kids, pretty much. This one I felt like it was more teens and adults, and I think, again, it was a good way to kind of send off the character for a little bit anyway. But yeah, so Terror of Mechagodzilla. Have you seen it? If so, what did you think? How does this one stack up? Did you like this one better than Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla, or did you think the previous one was the better movie? If you have not, I will leave links in the description section below where you can pick it up, check it out, come back, give me some of your thoughts, let me know what you think. Again, this is one of the classics, so if you're just passing familiar with Godzilla, or you've just seen images from the films throughout the years, more than likely you probably have seen a picture or two from this movie. Maybe not, but it tends to be one of the ones that kind of pop up a lot just because of the visual iconography. But anyway, guys, that's going to do it for this one. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, I will catch you in the next one. Peace!